Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to the Amateur Otaku Podcast. How is everybody doing out there? I am Brandon Alvarado, the Scarlet fan here, and I am very, 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 very excited to be with you guys tonight to talk about a special topic. It's not going to be our usual coverage of a season of a show, of a new movie or whatever, but is of an anime of a manga event that has taken place in the month of April. It happened earlier in the weeks of April, but we decided to wait and hold off on it, mainly because it's a very particular, important, and delicate subject, and it's at the final chapter of Attack on Titan, Shingeki no Kyojin, Hajime Isayama's master opus, has finally come out. So Attack on Titan has officially over its manga run, and Isaac and I are here today to talk about the final chapter, to talk about Attack on Titan as a whole, our thoughts, our final thoughts and feelings about how the story ended, um, where the universe is going from there, and maybe talk a little bit about different fans' reactions to the ending of a saga that has gone on for almost 11 years. And I'm really excited to start this conversation. So, Isaac, what is up, man? You ready for this?
I'm ready.
It's happened. It's real thing. Attack on Titan is over. I mean, the anime is still ongoing. It's on break, and part two of the final season will be coming on winter 2022. But the book is
Does
done.
that mean does that mean the first? I'm always confused what you mean with winter. Do they mean the first half of the year or the second half of the year? Since
So, in my understanding, winter season is considered. I think it's going to be like December, January through March. So that I
okay,
think so we're gonna get it probably towards the back end of this year and the beginning of next year. But yeah, Attack on Titan's over. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot say this enough. This is going to be a YouTube episode. It's not going to go on our podcast. We will do a podcast about Attack on Titan as a whole at some point because we need to do it. Probably when we get closer to the actual um, release of part two. But guys, spoilers ahead. Like, we're gonna spoil everything about Attack on Titan as a whole, and of course of how the chapter ends the saga that is Shingeki no Kyojin. So this is your only spoiler warning because we're gonna spoil this. And thank you if you guys now before I do that, a little bit of housekeeping. If you guys like what we're doing on YouTube, I appreciate. We're now up to 37 subscribers, so thank you guys for your support. You guys are awesome. Keep sharing with your friends what we're doing here at the Amateur Otaku. Keep subscribing. Keep hitting that like button, so more people find out of what we do and the reviews that we do on anime, manga alike, and also click on that bell icon so you do not miss any episodes, so you get notifications of all the episodes, all the streams, and everything that's released. We're working on getting more content out to you guys from different sources, so stay tuned. And we also have great stuff going on. Just like we're talking about the manga today, we're trying to cover more manga as well. We promised you to cover the manga of The Promised Neverland. That is coming. We're going to start doing it very, very soon. We're also covering the season 5 of My Hero Academia, and we're covering the manga of My Hero, which
with
just
our
started.
good friend,
Yeah,
Mike Thomas. Don't forget that.
I will not forget. Our great friend Michael Thomas has joined us, and he's covering My Hero with us. So we got a great stuff that we're covering. We're doing a lot more manga, a lot more anime, a lot more shows, crazy shows to be a fact, because we're going to cover one show that's like plain nuts. But there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline, and you don't want to miss any of it. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Amateur Otaku, and you click on the bell for notifications. Also, our podcast episodes have been a little bit delayed, but our podcast is not dead. We're going to put more episodes on there very, very soon. So stay tuned on our podcast that is available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, Stitcher, where all podcasts are found. You can find the Amateur Taco and go to our archive. We have almost 60 episodes of 60 different reviews of 6 different shows, a variety for everybody. So if you're looking for something to watch and want to make a decision on whether or not that show is for you, go to the Amateur Taco Archive. There's plenty of recommendations just waiting for you. And we always do it in a most non-spoiler fashion as much as we can, so that you can watch it and you can hear it, enjoy it, and decide if you want to jump in to the awesome world of that show that we cover. Now, without further ado, Isaac, it is time to talk about the final chapter. Now, before we go into details, because this particular chapter was a little bit longer than most chapters, I think we got an additional 5 to 7 pages, right? From what our usual chapters are.
Think I think so. Yeah.
Um, let's talk general. I just read it for a second time. I'm actually glad that I didn't read it again right away, because my first impression was like, okay, this is okay, and then I heard my friend hate it, like plain hate it, which is my good friend Jeremy Rodriguez, from the JSRC Gaming channel on YouTube, which is growing and becoming pretty awesome. He does great stuff there. He read it and he like wants to burn everything down, but but everybody's reacting differently. It's a big show. There's a lot of big things. It took a very interesting turn. Personally, after reading it a second time and reflecting on certain things, certain moments, and certain ideas that the show that the manga has covered from beginning to end, I kind of like it. I kind of like it. I kind of feel satisfied to a degree, even though it feels as if it feels kind of a bittersweet ending. Um, but I like it, and um, we'll talk more in detail about why I liked it or what I didn't like or liked. But Isaac, you've read it. You probably have read it. Knowing you, you probably have read it 2 or 3 times, maybe. Um, what are your thoughts? Attack on Titan's over.
Around
We're in the
that,
final chapter. Talk to me.
I'm mixed towards this one, if I'm being completely honest.
Okay.
I can't say that I dislike it, but I can't say that I. But I can't say that I'm up in arms
You
on
can't say
both
you can't say you can't say that you love it.
direction. No, not really.
Okay.
And for, by the way, isn't it funny how we talked about uh, how he mentioned that the whole "you're free" uh, panel was supposed to be the last panel, and then it's
Yep.
like what's one of the first panels you see, and
Well,
it's
it's not one of the
Aaron's
first.
dad.
It's yeah, it's not one of the first. It's kind of like a panel
Okay,
that's
in the
in the middle.
beginning,
Right, right. It was in the middle. It
middle
was in the middle of the
slash
chapter.
begin. Is it just
Yeah,
me, or isn't it that quite funny how he trolled people about that one?
yeah. Well, I mean, at least he didn't lie. It was one of the last panels, and it was in the last
Yeah.
chapter of the book. So you can't blame him there, and it's very possible that by the time that he figured out the ending, when he did figure out the ending, he moved stuff around as he was deciding to close it out. You know what I mean? And to put into perspective, I mean, as I read everything here and check it, that particular moment in the book occurs in page 18. So it is close to the beginning, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Um, but
Also, the whole thing about it, the whole, how should I put it? He being the reason for his mom's death,
see,
pretty much.
I don't think, I know that's kind of what they're saying. I know, I know, I know that's kind
It
of what they're
just
saying.
feels, it just
Yeah,
feel,
it's dark as fuck.
considering considering the beginning of the anime and manga, that just that just felt
See,
I dare say that felt
cringeworthy.
I don't know if I would call it cringeworthy, but it just feels wrong.
No, no, but
Considering
then
his mother's death is the reason why he want to kill all the Titans in the first place.
right, right. But then again, you got to think that here's the whole thing. So let's jump right in. I mean, you're mixed. I liked it, and not because I like everything, but there's things that I liked and things that I could see that Isayama's trying to do. Um, but let's talk about what happens. So the last chapter, the previous chapter, ends with the battle for freedom between the final Titan users, which is Armin, Annie, Pike, Falco, Reiner. I'm missing someone.
And
Yo, Mikasa and
Mikasa
Levi
finally get
because they're
her chance to
right,
kiss.
right, right. Because the founding Titan,
And
or the
Mikasa finally gets her chance to kiss Aaron, even though it's a
stop,
disturbing way.
stop. But no, but I'm trying to recap. Let me recap, Isaac. So we have the final battle between Eren and the newfound pure Titans created by all the remaining of Eldia, and and the remainder of humanity, and they're all fighting to try and stop Eren for everything he's doing, trying to destroy the weird worm or the founding Titan or the epitome of that power or whatever, which kind of acted like an extension of Eren or whatever. Um, but it's the whole thing with Mikasa, because
Yeah.
Mikasa and Levi are immune to the gases that transform the rest of the aliens to pure Titans. Mikasa makes a decision because Levi is in no physical condition to do so. Mikasa makes the decision to be the one to deal the final blow and decapitates Eren from inside of his Titan after Armin
And
is able
ends
to
it with
do
a
a fatal
kiss.
blow and kisses Eren and kisses Eren's
I mean,
beheaded head. Which
I
is
mean, we all have.
crazy.
We all have some king. We all have some kinks, but
But
that's
that's the
just on
thing.
some
See,
other
see,
level.
see. Now you're thinking like Aquaman. It's not a kink. You got to think about the fact that what led Mikasa. We're derailing this. What led Mikasa to cut Aaron's head wasn't just the idea of saving humanity or delivering humanity from Aaron. It was the idea of setting Aaron free. And so it was an act of love, which is why it led to the kiss, because Mikasa would never had presented would have never acted on her feelings if it wasn't for something like this. Like she needed a push to act on her feelings herself because she never would have unless Aaron would do something, right? What I like the
Yeah,
fact is that we finally got the answer of why Emir was standing there whenever Mikasa kissed Aaron. Um, but
she
so we
also
have
has a kink. That's for sure.
it's not stop and so so we don't so the final chapter picks up directly where the last one left off, but it starts off in a very interesting way. The first chapter starts the same way the first chapter began with Armin and Aaron. It was Armin and Mikasa the first one, and 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 they were together. They were young, but this one starts with Armin and Aaron having a conversation. But even though they're in childlike form, they're having a conversation about the events that are occurring in the present. And the whole conversation with Aaron about what did you really have to go this far? Did you really have to kill all these people? Did you really have to be the villain? And something that a lot of some of me and my friends, and I wouldn't be surprised if you thought about this, the idea that everything that Eren did was to make himself the bad guy, to make his friends the heroes. Like there was always that idea. So I like that they were able to plainly say it, that that was Eren's
To
plan.
some degree,
Hmm.
you can argue that he did a Lelouch. I haven't seen that show, but the ending has been
Yes,
spoiled for me. So
yeah, they kind of did a Lelouch, but the big difference is the cost is a lot. It's greater in this show, because it doesn't limit to just killing Lelouch. It goes to the fact that he literally murdered 80% of humanity. Um, and and to think, and here's what happens. So he does this, and he says that the reason Ymir's been trapped and there is such a thing as the power of Titans is because she loves King Fritz. And she's been
no, she
living
doesn't love him. It's called Stockholm syndrome.
correct. And but the idea that love is the key to salvation is one of the things that I know a lot of people hate about this ending, because a lot of people are interpreting that, why is Attack on Titan suddenly a love story? And I know that one of the things that we've talked a lot of times is that Isayama has used Attack on Titan to explore a vast amount of different genres. You know what I mean? So it moves from genre to genre as the arcs progress. And love has never been one arc. And I don't think that that's the argument, though. Like a lot of people are focusing on the fact that Isayama is quote unquote making this a love story, but I don't think that's what Isayama is doing. I think when they talk about the idea of love, they're talking about the strength that one has to have to love and do the right thing anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
To make the correct decision, even though it's there's decisions that love makes you make. You know, and in the
yeah,
case of Emir was trapped because yes, she was in love with Fritz, but she never did what she needed to do to make herself free. She allowed herself to be despised. She never used her power to stop this person from hurting her. And she never allowed herself to be loved by herself. You know what I mean? So it was more like Stockholm syndrome, and it was more of an abusive love that she was allowing herself to be abused, and she wanted to be free from that. She did not want to be a prisoner of love anymore. And that's not a love story. That's an empowerment idea. And the idea that Mikasa, who kind of resembles Emir to a degree, her actions against Eren was a way for Emir to be free. Does that make sense? And that
yeah.
idea to me is interesting. It's interesting because especially when we talk about the savages, which is one of the last three chapters that we talked about the anime, when Eren exposes their truth, that they're both slaves to their nature, like Armin has become a slave to Bertholdt's feelings, and Mikasa has become a slave to her bloodline of Ackermans. Um, the idea that we know that Mikasa generally loves Eren, but loves Eren enough to kill him, to set him free and save the world. That's real love. And from that aspect, it makes sense why Mikasa's love could save humanity. To me, that is a good reason. The problem is, I think that because Mikasa and Eren have always been quote unquote like an item, and a lot of people have shipped them for so long, that idea
That's an
has been
understatement.
right. The idea of love being used in this narrative fashion has been misinterpreted. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Because I
I
think
will
it's.
admit.
Go ahead.
I will admit though, the fact that he out of nowhere said that he wanted to be with it, hoped that she wouldn't be with some other
For another
man
10 years. Yeah.
for under 10 years. I best. Where the hell did this come from?
No, but you
I
got to
mean,
think about.
it's
But you got
because
to come to think.
because
Right.
I don't know if I interpreted it, if I missed something while reading it, but it felt during this whole journey, it felt more like he saw her as a sibling and not a woman that she
You could,
loved.
but
Sort
you
of
gotta,
like how she clearly like he clearly saw Armin kind of like a brother.
but you gotta understand also that if you look at Aaron's life, he never gave himself the opportunity to see anyone as a partner because he was always the man on a mission. He could never focus on a life settling down. It was
Sure,
all
but
about the
it
mission. No,
just
and I get what you're saying. Like you would have liked to see a hint of something, but here's what I like about the entire thing. Yes, we hear Aaron say all that, but you know how I think Isayama saves it?
okay.
Because as soon as he says that, he uses Armin as the audience and says, "I was not expecting to say for you to say something that pathetic."
Mm.
Because it's kind of like telling him to his face, like if you felt like this for the longest time, why you never say anything? So he's not
Yeah.
just letting it be. You know what I mean? Like accepting it like that's the way it's supposed to be. No, literally Armin says, I wasn't expecting. I mean, he could have said it jokingly, but still, the fact that those words are there, I think it has to do with the fact that because that's the other thing. After the time skip, we know that Aaron becomes a closed horse. So he doesn't say what he really feels at all.
He
So
becomes a what?
a closed horse, that's what they call like someone that's just closed out, like a hermit, you know what I mean?
I
So,
have
so
never heard that term, if
that's like
I'm
a
being
yeah,
honest.
it's like a American thing. But you know what I mean? Like he becomes this person that hides from everything. So even then, we couldn't see. It's not like think about it. It's not till this chapter, which is literally the last one, that we finally speak to Aaron face to face since the time skip. So we
Yeah.
so we so we can never so who is to say that those things were there? And then when you think about it, also that whole conversation that he has with them in the Savages episode of the manga and anime, literally his intention. And here goes to well before I because I want to talk about that after because I think that Aaron still is the hero at the end, and I have a way of thinking. I don't know if that was Isayama's vision, but that's my interpretation. Um, but yeah, the idea of love being this weapon and Mikasa being the one to deliver it, and I can make sense of that. A lot of
Just
people hate it.
curious of what you think about it. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people calling this story story about Mikasa uh, told told from told with Armin telling it from Aaron's perspective.
You mean the visions or the?
The whole general story, it's
Oh
from
no 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 no
Aaron's perspective.
no no I don't think so. You mean like Armin's? I don't think Armin's telling it. Oh, I see what you're saying. I see that this is a story that Mikasa's telling from Armin's perspective.
Yeah, sort of, sort of.
See, I mean that could be. You know why? You know what's the only reason why?
Or
What's the only reason that I don't believe that to be the case?
go on.
Because Mikasa has never been one to speak. She's never been someone to tell stories. Armin is. Armin's always been the forefront when it
Yeah,
comes to knowledge or stories. Mikasa. Now, I'm not saying that. Like, I just feel that
yeah. Which
that
is why I
idea.
mean, which
Yeah,
is
I
why I
think that
mean,
idea is just out of character.
Armin is telling the story of Mikasa, and this we follow the story from the
See,
Aaron's
but then it,
perspective.
right. But at the same time, I'm kind of happy with the idea that Isayama is the narrator and there's no character telling the story. Um, and like yes, the way the show starts, like from 2,000 years, da, da, da. But now we finally get an answer that why it says from 2,000 years to you is because it's kind of like because it's talking about the fact that Emir has been in captivity for 2,000 years. That's where
Yeah,
that's the connection. So I don't think anybody's telling the story apart from Isayama, just because everything feels from the
I
outside. Nothing
I know
feels first
another.
person.
I know another big reason why people dislike this, and
Go ahead.
some felt that the were argued that it was worse than the whole love thing, and that was the thing that
What
pretty
was the thing?
much the war never ended. Essentially, it
See, and you know
and
what?
he essentially made them lose the biggest weapon they had, and that was their titans.
But you know what? Because the war's not over, listen to what I'm going to say. I think that's the main reason I like the ending. Because
I
that
mean, I
shows
can.
me that Aaron won. And here's why. And here's why. You go first, but I'm going to tell you why I think that.
I mean, I can see that from a perspective because, let's face it, they have been so indoctrinated about the other people being the enemy that they wouldn't just suddenly drop out the gun and celebrate as if they was the evil against the empire, so to speak. So I can buy that, which is I mean,
Yeah.
I can also understand why people are disappointed. Why it didn't weren't solved and all.
So, okay,
I can totally understand people.
Oh no, I do too. But did you want to hear my
I
theory?
do I I do wonder
Go
because
ahead.
I can't recall if I do think it said that in the thank you notes that they talked about something that could indicate that the story is going to continue question mark
No, I don't think so. I think it's pretty definitive. I don't think. I mean,
because I mean you
personally,
could
if the story continues, it makes no sense. But I don't think.
I mean I mean they
Oh,
could
I think.
continue the war.
Well, yeah, but I don't think. I mean, they could do that. They can definitely do that. But I think what they're saying is the idea of him working, creating content. I don't think it's that Attack on Titan's going to go on. I think he's going to keep
I mean
inviting. But
I
then again,
mean
I
Dragon
understand. You can
I
have like
mean
an Attack on Titan.
Dragon Ball has how many sequels? Naruto has Boruto. Uh,
Yeah, but you don't.
and
But you don't make a sequel of Attack on Titan unless you want to make it for the war drama for the people that likes the war drama. But so yeah, I think this is done, and I kind of prefer it to be done now. You
I
want?
would prefer it to be done also. I'm just saying that I'm
Yeah,
just
I'm not surprised if it happens. Yeah.
talking. I was talking. What is the chance of it getting a sequel? Would you say over
Uh,
under 30%?
I would say under because of the reception of the ending. But then
You
again,
think that if the ending would have been better received, it would have would get
I still
garner a
wouldn't think
sequel.
so. I still wouldn't think so because I think Isayama's intention was to make this definitive. At least the story feels that way. This chapter
I mean,
feels that way.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just
Yeah, 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 no,
it
no.
kind of. I mean, you can argue that it kind of end on off a cliffhanger, considering they were off to talk
And
about peace and
that's
all that.
and that's what I don't agree with. I don't think it did.
The,
I don't think it
I said
ended
that you
because
can
of that.
argue.
Oh no, no,
We
no!
can argue.
I know. You're just putting your point out, and that's why I'm putting mine. I don't think
I
that it
mean,
ends on a
I'm with
cliffhanger.
you that it. I'm with you that it didn't. That it isn't technically a cliffhanger in my book. But if someone would say out loud that they feel like it ended on a cliffhanger, I wouldn't blame people.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. Um,
Which is also, which is, which honestly is one of the reasons why I feel he wrote the ending like he did, because it while it didn't feel like a cliffhanger. It still felt like it's something they can continue on, even if it's not Attack on Titans.
mhm.
Then, if you know what I mean,
Yep.
because popular mangas and animes have been given spin-offs and all that, yes, and I would argue that it would be kind of a spin-off sequel, considering it's not focusing on the Titans anymore. If
Hmm.
that were to happen, that is.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, it kind of loses a little bit of, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's going to be a sequel that will be appealing to a certain crowd. I mean, it would be nice to see more of these characters, but, but, but the ending of it, I think, ends, it marks things, I think it leaves things in a very good place for it to just end. Um,
I need to ask you something. After you have said why you don't think it ends on a cliffhanger, I need to ask you something
no, ask me
about
now because I'm going to be a while, but ask me now.
because I've seen people who was kind of pissed that uh, you know Reiner survived but not Aaron.
But
What's your
that's
thought about that?
and again, I'm okay with it because of why I think Aaron still won.
Okay, but why did he win in your opinion?
So here's the whole thing. So the whole thing with Aaron is the idea of freedom, right? The idea of being able to make decisions, of people being able to be free, right? To not have
Yeah,
anyone rule over them or rule over their chances to make their own decisions, make their own life in any way that they can. That's it. That's been his biggest thing since I was a kid, and that was a driving force towards everything that he did with the Jaegerists. That's why when he has the conversation with Mikasa and Armin, he says, "I'm free. Like I'm not here to work with Zeke. I'm here to do what I need to do, what I want to do." Right? The idea of him being free to make the decisions that need to happen. So the whole thing with Aaron of him being free is that he wanted to make his people free. His people free. And what that means is that they are free to make their own choices, whatever they are. And like whenever the rumbling started, and Reiner and all these guys and all these people started to come together to face Aaron, you have that moment where Aaron speaks to all of them, right? And Aaron speaks to all of them and says, like, I'm not going to stop you, but I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it all has to do with the idea of freedom, the idea that I have the freedom to do my choices. You have the freedom to do your choices. And the reason he does that is because he's now in full power with the founding Titan. He can actually make them stop if he wanted to. You know what I mean? He has the godlike ability to make them not do anything. And in this particular chapter, we kind of get the glimpse or the revelation that he's had complete authority over the Fountain Time powers because he actually had conversations with Armin and everybody else. He had conversations with everybody and then erased it from their memories. So that those memories would only be released at the moment of his death. From the beginning of the rumbling to the end, if he wanted to make everybody defenseless, he could have. He chose not to do it because he wanted them to have freedom. And the idea of you are free now, yes, This goes back to the idea that he had the freedom to allow his mother to die, to to create the rage that will fuel him. And it all goes back to the idea that he said Ymir has made it a way where there's no past or present. So he's talking about the fact that Ymir gave the Fountain Titan the ability of omniscience, which is a godlike
Of what?
ability. Omniscience. So
Never
so the
heard that
idea of
word.
God, so the idea of God being omniscient means that he knows everything. But not only that is the idea that time, that God or gods exist outside of time. So God doesn't see past, present, and future like we understand it. He sees everything as something happening right now. So the future is happening now, the past is happening now, the present is happening now. There's no division of time like we look at it. You know what I mean? So that's why he's saying when he's talking to Armin, she's made it a way where you can't really tell what happened first, what happened after. All he knows is what his decision was going to lead to, which is going to be Mikasa doing what she does and setting everybody free, and everybody being free from the Titans and all that stuff. So, so, um, so the idea of Aaron, you are free, is the fact that he's free to make these decisions, and he decided to make these decisions, and he still made them, even though they were horrible, but he did it because he wanted to create a clean slate in the world, and he wanted to set his people free from the Titans so that they can choose their destiny, so that the world can choose their destiny. Because when you think about it, the only reason the Eldians were held captive was because of Titan power. That was the only reason. You eliminate that, and now Eldia is in control of its destiny. Whether it becomes an armed and militarized state, it doesn't matter. They're in control of their destiny. And everything that Armin's doing with the survivors, and the idea that these people that were at odds with each other are now a team or a family. Again, nobody's being defined by their past, by their genealogies. They're all together as friends, and they're controlling their destiny. Them going back to Eldia for peace talks is their way of controlling their destiny. That's what
Yeah,
Aaron wanted. He wanted everybody in Eldia to be able to be in control of destiny, whatever that might be. And the fact that he would end war, it means that he will be going on top of the desires of other people, which is not what he wanted to do. He wanted to create a scenario where everybody would be able to be free. And I think the best scene to capture this idea of freedom, or the idea of the slavery that Titan power created for Eldia, is that moment when they're pointing their guns at the Eldians and Armin comes forth. And he says, if we were Titans, why aren't we using our power to stop you? And
yeah.
as soon as he
And
says
it was,
that, right. And that at that moment, they understood, the Marlians understood that there's no reason to point their guns at them because they're just regular people now. They're equals now. They're as free as anybody else.
yeah.
That's why I
Shall
think
we
Aaron won.
shall we talk about a certain goodbye scene, if you will?
Yes. What do you
Which
think about what do you
kind
think about the idea though? What do you think about the idea?
I mean, I mean,
Does it sound convoluted, or
considering
does it make
it's a,
sense?
I mean, his squad pretty much turned into a titan. So, uh, because of the whole seats with uh, um, Seek making on the drinking that wine and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see how it works within the mythology. Had they all been consumed by the Titans, then that would have been a different story, so to speak. Which is why I
Yes.
question sort of like Irvin, Sasha, and was Hank there too? I don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
but I can,
Hanji was there in the mirage that Levi
which
saw.
is
Which, by the way, what a great way of ending
which
Levi's like run as a warrior.
I mean I can,
I'm glad he didn't die.
which is why, yeah, I'm too, but which is why I'm saying that I can understand. I can buy the reasoning of why the squads that turn into Titans were there, but I question how the how Hang, Irvin, and Sasha was there, considering they never died as
Well,
Titans, so to speak.
remember that I think that all goes back to one. I think it might have been like I don't.
But you
One could argue that that didn't necessarily happen. Like
but
that's
you see
just
what
like
I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, one could argue that that didn't necessarily happen, and just like Levi, in many different moments, he kind of talks to himself like he's talking to Irvin. So it
You
could have been
mean
like
that sort of like he could
imagining it.
see, he saw good.
Right, right,
They
right. Like
imagine
he's
it,
imagining it, right? But at the same time, I wouldn't
Okay,
be
that's one.
surprised. Yeah, but at the same time, remember that one of the things that they kind of speak is that every Eldian is connected through the pathways, whether they're Titans or not. It doesn't matter. Every Eldian is connected to the pathways, and with the death of the Titan power, the pathways go away. So it would make sense for them to have that mirage. I mean, if you were to display it, so you can kind of explain it whether it's a ghost, whether it's directed to the pathways, you can explain it either or. But what I like about it also is the fact that you learn that everybody that was ever turned into a Titan became human again.
Yeah,
Because remember,
which
they make
kind
a
of makes
point.
sense. Which
Yeah,
kind of makes sense.
yeah. Which when they talk about Gene, that's awesome. Gene, they talk about not Gene, they talk about Connie's mom.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense that they stopped it because, well, the source of uh, Titans is now gone, so to speak. So it
Correct.
made sense.
Right. Right. And you know what's interesting now that I didn't think
I
about
mean,
it before?
I would honestly say that it would have made less sense if they didn't turn back after
Correct.
the founding Titan died, then
Right.
and all
I
that. Yes,
One of the things that I liked about the ending was too is like they didn't make a big deal about the little worm, the little centipede thing.
that
And I
was
like how yeah, and I kind of like that they made it so like the centipede was to be understood as a simply as a extension of the founding titan, especially with the centipede's ability of using the same gas, spinal fluid gas, similar to what Seek does to turn
just
others into
curious.
titans. I
Can
like how they kind of made it like the founding titan doesn't only just take control of all the Eldians, he can make anybody into a titan at will. And that's what that centipede
just
represents, which is interesting. Go ahead.
just curious. This is sort of like uh, not, but at the same time, do you think that they are going to go into more detail about the centipede in the anime and maybe fleshed out that ending?
They may do that to a degree. I kind of want
Because
them to. I want them that if they're going to flesh it out, I want them to do it in a way that it makes it what I felt they did, which was an extension of the founding Titan powers. You know how
I
the
mean,
Warhammer is able to create weapons, right, and stuff like that.
yeah,
The founding
because
Titan can release the centipede, and it can make any Eldian into a Titan at will.
I mean, uh, for, I mean, as we talked about with the Mike on our My Hero Academia episode that we posted earlier, the in the anime, you see them. The whole training is it's not in the manga. It's just fleshing out.
Right, right, right.
The,
Making it more interesting. Yeah,
so
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
maybe
Yeah,
they are. Maybe this is an ending that is more of an out. They do switch it up some of the ending with the anime
yeah,
that
yeah,
people will accept that it will be the same ending, so to speak, but it will be might be executed to the point that maybe people are going to accept that version more,
yeah,
if you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah.
It-
But yeah, I mean, so what do you think about the idea of? You think I do want to hear your straight answer. Do you think that my idea with the whole freedom thing is convoluted? Does it make sense? What do you think?
I can I see what you mean actually. I can see what you mean.
I mean, I might be now one of the most hated persons on YouTube because I'm not chipping
Nah,
Mikasa Ren, but I don't care. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I like the idea that it's because to think that the war would just end, because that's the thing though. The problem wasn't war. War is part of life. War is part
which
of, you know what I mean?
like I said to you earlier in the episode, while I can understand people being disappointed that it, in lack of better terms, didn't become sunshine and rainbows from the get go. We need we need to remember that people have been indoctrinated for Lord knows how many years. Uh, uh, that said people is the enemy, and they have done did that and so many bad things, and
Right.
they're what's it called? Not an is it not ancestor or what's it called?
What do you mean?
Uh, the ones coming afterwards, not ancestor. The opposite of ancestors.
Descendants?
Descendants. Thank you. And the descendants should get the ancestors' punishment because of what they've done
Right, right,
and
right, right, right,
yada.
right, right. Which is the other
And
thing that Aaron was trying to do also. So nobody, so no more the Eldians would have to suffer because we're Titans, but also they didn't have to suffer because of the history of its people.
which
So
is which is uh, which is why I said which is which is why you might argue that maybe it could have it, which is why I wonder if would have gone over better if they would have another chapter or two that makes the peace the whole peace agreements going greenlit, and we then it would end instead, because I think
yeah,
a lot of people are disappointed that it didn't end it in a happy way, so to speak, and I can totally understand that. I can totally understand that,
I
considering
mean,
it has been. I mean, the series has gone on for 10 long years, and then you see your favorite characters not getting a full-fledged happy ending. So I can understand. I can see. I can. I can. On one hand, I think he did the right thing in terms of the ending, but at the same time, I can't blame people to be disappointed. That's what I'm
right.
trying to say.
Yeah, and it's one of those things also. It's like in a world as tragic, as grounded as the world of Attack on Titan, in spite of its fantastical elements, the most happy ending that you're going to get is going to be one that's bittersweet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're not going to get unicorns and rainbows. You know what I mean? You're going to get something real. And it's like that moment, I think the way Mikasa is shown at the end, where she's crying because she misses Aaron and wants to meet him again, and she sees the idea of Aaron on this Jaeger bird that, you know, it's like that kind of mixture of sadness and joy. That's what I think Isayama wants you to feel. That's how this is supposed to end. That's why the show starts there. And also, not only that, the manga ends the way it started, with Aaron and Mikasa under the tree, which to me, that's pretty nice.
I thought you were gonna say it's kind of poetic at times because it rhymes. It's poetry. It's rhymes like George Lucas. Isn't that what George Lucas usually used
I
to
don't think we
say?
trust George Lucas anymore.
I was just thinking about the whole it ended like it started, if you know what I mean, and that
Yeah,
just made me
true,
think of that quote.
true, true. But yeah, man, I think I like it. I think I'm gonna have to read it again. I still want to go through the entire manga, which I'm buying the volumes little by little. I just have to read them, and I'll get to the final chapter very soon and read it again and read it as a whole to see how I feel about it. But that's all I got, man. Is there anything else you want to share? Anything else you want to say?
No, no, I don't really
No.
know what else is to say, really.
So you know what? I think we're gonna head out today. But before we do that, guys, thank you for joining us as we covered Attack on Titan Part One, and also as we cover the final chapter of the manga. Thank you for joining us. Show us your love and your comments and your thoughts on our crazy ideas in the comments below, and share this with your friends that have read the manga, or they want to hear our thoughts on this, or the thoughts of some people, because we just want to talk with you guys and have this community. And we can talk on Twitter or whatever. You can find us on Twitter at amateur otaku rtf at correction. That's our Gmail account. You can send us your. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do one better. I'm just gonna write here. That's not it. Bear with me. We're doing this live. Well, it's not live as a recording, but it feels live. Um, you can find us on Twitter at.
You do know that I'm just gonna post our Twitter link in the bio, right?
Can you stop making this difficult? I'm trying to be smart here. I know I'm not smart, but you can find us on Twitter at Amateur Otaku Pod. You can send us your recommendations, your thoughts on our crazy antics in the show, thoughts on the pod, thoughts on anime that we're covering, thoughts on the final chapter of Attack on Titan. And also, if you want to send us anime recommendations, this is the place to do it. Either drop down on the comments here, recommendation, or send us recommendations through their Twitter account. You can also send us recommendations to our email, amateurtakurtf@gmail.com. And more importantly, stay tuned because we're covering My Hero Academia every weekend. We're covering The World Ends With You, the animation based on the Square Enix beloved cult classic game. And we're going to start covering Promised Neverland manga very, very soon because we hated season 2, and we're going to cover the manga to see what the original intention is and cover the story and find out what the hell the Goldie Pawn arc is and, and, and go over everything. So we're really excited to do that. We're
And we
also
are
going to be
also
covering
go on.
we're also going to be covering Nishio, My Ordinary Life, very soon. It's a bonkers show. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It's on Funimation and Wakanim. You're going to greatly enjoy it.
If you
And we're
think
going
Disastrous Life of Psyche K is not normal, then you
to,
have seen
oh,
nothing yet.
and that cat's a dick. So thank you for joining us, guys. Isaac, where can people find you on the webs?
Well, you can find me on at Emblemaniac on Twitter, and you can find my work over at Wobum Entertainment.
And you can find me at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Twitter, at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Instagram, and as Rondon Alvarado on Facebook. See you later, guys. Have it awesome. Peace.
Peace.